Hi, this is Maya Lemberg here in my office, Emerge Psychotherapy and Healing in Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm doing a couple of videos in preparation for a workshop that I'm co-facilitating here in Atlanta on May 18th called Igniting the Warrior Within, a boundaries and assertiveness training for those who identify as women. And I did part one a couple of weeks ago, and now I want to do part two to elaborate on some of the topics around this whole huge thing called boundaries and what this is and how do we understand them and clean them up and strengthen them or make them more flexible in order for us to have better relationships and feel safer in the world. So I want to first look at family and cultural and gender narratives around boundaries. So we grew up in different family cultures, and within those family cultures, as soon as we're born, as soon as we're brought into the world, we are being taught of what it means to be in relationship with other people, to have connections. And who am I in relation to having connections? So if the way that I am in the world is really like supported and protected and nourished and celebrated, I end up feeling really safe to be myself and to explore the world, and that even if I don't want something or I push back, that's okay too. It's okay to push back and say no and to resist something. So often we are given the message that it's not okay to say no. That if you say no, you are going to really stir the pot, make a lot of waves in the family, and you're going to be risking not getting your needs met, your needs of protection, support, connection from your family, or from your community or from your culture. Also, some of these narratives might be slightly different for boys versus girls. So often girls receive a little bit of messaging around my role is to serve everyone. So my core identity comes from my ability to be selfless and accommodating and serving. Like the biggest insult you could ever give anybody, especially little girls growing up, is to call them selfish. You know, you only care about yourself. You're selfish. And surely it's still hurtful to hear that, and it still might create some tension within us. And so I want to just kind of get into this narrative around like selfishness and guilt if we actually say no and assert ourselves and speak our needs and claim our space, what we want, what we don't want. Why am I not allowed to take up space to say no? So some of that is like we risk losing a relationship. We risk losing the connection. If somebody is going to be angry with us or disappointed in us or think worse of us, then we might not get our needs met of love and connection. So a lot of this is stemming way back. So it's really scary to say no or to speak up or say whatever our truth is if it is dissenting with the truth of somebody else. So the only way to be in connection is to then sacrifice ourselves and accommodate to others. So that's a particular story that was really supported in your early life, and then you have been reinforcing it through your life. So I want to just offer a statement to you that when I adequately honor my needs, I have more of myself to give. When I adequately honor my needs, I have more of myself to give. And I often want to be in service when my cup is full. So when we're constantly giving and giving and giving, and we're depleting ourselves and we have this empty cup, but we feel like we have to give, or we're not going to get the love that we want, or our like core sense of identity is then shaken, the giving becomes kind of from a like depleted and eventually a resentful place. But if we can say no when it feels like we don't have whatever it is to give, or we don't want to give it, and let ourselves say no, or let me think about it, I don't know yet, and then really tune into what you want. Eventually you fill yourself up with whatever the thing is that you're really needing at the time, if you can drop in and listen, which we talked about in the first video. And then you want to be in service. So for instance, I have a high level of self-care, and I know that it's really necessary, and that my body demands it and my career demands it. If I'm not really taking care of myself, then I am going to be giving from an empty cup all day, and I'm not going to be doing my best work here as a therapist. So it is it's imperative for me and for like the integrity of my work to take really good care of myself, which sometimes means like not seeing people, or not calling frequently, or not doing all of the things, because I have to be inward and do the things that I need to do to feel restored. So I just want to offer that to you, that in fact, if you do put up stronger boundaries with people, like maybe you don't need to call your mother every single day, even though that's what she really wants, or say yes to doing favors for all of the friends. If you can honor that, then you will give more enthusiastically and authentically, and that in fact can create beautiful relationships. And then I also want to bring up the fact that some people might not be okay with it. Some people might be used to you always accommodating them in the relationship, and when you start to make a stand for yourself, it will disrupt that relationship system in a way that that other person isn't going to be able to tolerate. So you might lose relationships that aren't in line with your evolution as a person. So that is a risk that we do take. Yet, do we want to be in relationships with people where we only have to be this certain way of being in service and accommodating, or do we want relationships that allow us the room to evolve and grow and be our natural self and say no? And I also encourage you that when your friends say no, or your family says no, or your partner says no, to celebrate that and say, thank you for taking care of yourself. I'm glad you're so in tune with yourself, you could give yourself what you need. And just like modeling that, I think we all need to hear that, because it's scary for everybody to say no, and when we're supported in our no, and us saying no doesn't actually mean that I'm gonna have a loss of connection, or you're gonna be angry with me or disappointed, but just like really honored, like, you know, even if it's like I can't come to your birthday party, or I have to leave early, just like totally understand. I'm glad that you're giving yourself what you need. So anyway, I leave you with that. If you're interested in more, it's going to be a really powerful, rich workshop from noon to 6 on May 18th in Atlanta, Georgia.